Hello and welcome to the College of Education's 2022 3-Minute Thesis. My name is Brandon Chapman, and I serve as the Director of Marketing and Communications in this wonderful college. For the next 30 minutes, it'll be my pleasure to introduce you to this event, our student competitors, and by the end, I sincerely hope you are able to recognize the really cool research our doctoral students are doing. It's hard to believe, but this is the College of Education's 9th 3-Minute Thesis. In case you're new to the format, in short, each competitor gets 3 minutes and not a second more to give a compelling narrative about their research. A small panel of judges from outside the college judge on 2 categories. First, comprehension and content, and second, engagement and communications. The winner of today's competition gets $1,000 cash money. Second, $750. Third takes home $500. And as we say every single year, it's a tradition now, each of our competitors not only gets to put this on their CV, they get a nice feeling in their heart for having taken part. That's sweet. Additionally, the winner of today's event will get to represent the college at the university's 3-Minute Thesis event. That's where the winner from every participating college or campus gets to compete for even bigger prizes. That event is scheduled to be streamed on YouTube on Thursday, March 24th. For more information on 3-Minute Thesis, visit 3mt.wsu.edu. We want to thank our judges now. Just throwing them out there alphabetically by last name. We have Allison Boston, a content writer with Washington State Magazine. Joelle Edwards, Native American Retention Specialist with WSU's Native American Programs. Steve Nakata, a Public Relations Coordinator with WSU's Division of Student Affairs. And Connolly Roden, a Scholarly Assistant Professor of Journalism and Media Production in the Edward R. Murrow College of Communication. Thank you so much, judges, for your time. And now, without further ado, we turn the time over to the competitors. We begin first with Emma McMain. Emma's a fabulous scholar in our educational psychology program. Her research focuses on promoting social and ecological justice in education, with past and current projects incorporating critical discourse analysis, critical media literacies, feminist and affect theories, and anti-racist pedagogies in explorations of curriculum, film, literature, and youth's lived experiences. Emma, the floor is yours. You have 3 minutes.
Imagine asking someone on the street to tell you about their experiences in school. They might start telling you about multiplication tables or grammar, but chances are they will tell you about their favorite teacher, their friends, the subjects they loved and hated. When people talk about what they learned, their takeaways tend to be what it was like to learn at this experiential, social, emotional level. Social emotional learning, or SEL, is a buzzword right now in education, referring to skills including self-awareness and social awareness. It has been getting a lot of attention from very different streams. There are those who advocate for SEL as a promoter of student well-being and academic achievement, and there are increasing attacks, often grouped with those on critical race theory, LGBTQ+ rights, that push against SEL as a form of radical indoctrination. My work is positioned in a third stream of attention that seeks to recognize where SEL itself might be perpetuating systems of oppression unintentionally, through things like positioning students of color in need of saving, or emphasizing academic achievement above other forms of well-being. It is important to critique and question SEL because of its possibilities and its importance. My dissertation will welcome 6 to 8 elementary teachers into these critical conversations about SEL through a discussion group. In this collaborative form of professional development, we will read book chapters and articles and meet weekly for 6 weeks to discuss them, in addition to one-on-one interviews, 2 surveys, and self-reflective journaling. The study is guided by questions that include: how do teachers make meaning of and emotionally engage with topics of SEL and social justice? How do teachers reflect on their own identities in relation to these topics? Something that struck me in my pilot work is the tendency to personify SEL, saying things like "the curriculum teaches" or "SEL says." This can position teachers as mere deliverers of prepackaged tools that do the actual teaching, which defers blame and success from human individuals. At the same time, perhaps this distancing of individuals from curriculum could put responsibility on broader systems to change. These are themes to keep exploring in my work. My goal is not to produce a perfect, finished model of SEL, but to demonstrate the importance of conversations not just toward change, but as change. We need to talk about SEL and its context in ways that are not so ironically social and emotional, staying with hard feelings, forefronting relationships. This is not just a study about what is talked about in conversations of education and social justice. It also asks how we talk about these things, and perhaps most importantly, who we are as we talk about them.
Thanks, Emma. That was amazing. Our next competitor is Keola Birano, a great graduate scholar who is pursuing his doctoral degree in cultural studies and social thought in education. He's currently working on a young adult novel that weaves strands of Hawaiian culture and history that's relatable to today's teenagers, with a hope that more literature can reflect underrepresented student experience. Keola, aloha, and the floor is yours. You have 3 minutes.
Ika olelo no keola, ika olelo no kamake. Translated, words have power to cause life or death. This Hawaiian proverb is the foundation of my project, and this truth is captured in words used throughout history. As you can see, the word savage has been utilized in colonial times, as well as in moments when human beings have tried to enslave. So you can see it in history as you look at Europeans who came to America and label Native Americans as savages as they pushed them off their land brutally. Slave owners coined the same term for African people as they trafficked these human beings. The danger of being labeled a savage is not lost on the monarchy of Hawaii. Historian Noinoi Silva reported that in 1840, Hawaiians created their own constitution because of being accused of being savages. This accusation was a threat to their independence, and they knew it. And despite the changes they made in 1840, they still lost their independence in the 1890s. And because of this loss of independence, Dr. Crabb, who's an educational scholar, has connected that point in history to a lot of the social and economic issues Hawaiians face today. And despite all these grim effects of colonization, educational scholars believe that Hawaiians can still turn it around, specifically through education. And it is through bringing culture into the educational system of Hawaii that Hawaiian children can learn to connect with their school as well as trust the system that once colonized them. Scholars have found that by doing so, motivation and test scores go up in regards to these students. Through culture education, the hope is that economic ills will begin to lift as more Hawaiians see themselves in the classroom. So how do we bring culture in the classroom? I believe it's through the power of words or story. Now we have stories of our ancestors which have served us since the 1890s to keep us afloat as we have gone through colonization. We have language immersion schools that dot across the state. The words of our ancestors still matter, but there is a need for new voices of Hawaiians who still live today, and a culture need not float when we can actually swim. I believe cultural knowledge must be relatable, which is why I'm writing a young adult novel for Native Hawaiian students. In this novel, I hope to bring in culture and history. I hope to bring in my own Hawaiian indigenous lens, which involves writing from my na'au or my gut. It involves utilizing my Native Hawaiian ancestors, both alive and dead, and also utilizing the land as a tool. I also hope to bring in kauna connectivity, which means hidden meaning, bringing hidden meaning so that students are forced to learn more about their culture from their ancestors. I hope to choose this path, or I choose this path because just as the word savage could be used to dismantle society, I believe a story full of words using Hawaiian tools can help rebuild that same society. Thank you.
Excellent job, Keola. And when the book comes out, save a signed copy for me. Our next competitor is McLean from our mathematics and science education program. Megan has been a math teacher for the past 14 years, where she's had the opportunity to teach in Texas and South Korea. For the past decade, she has been at Lewis and Clark High School in Spokane, Washington, where she's currently the lead math teacher. She's no stranger to the Palouse. Megan earned a mechanical engineering degree from the University of Idaho. Megan, the floor is yours. You have 3 minutes.
In your head, conjure up a mental image of a mathematician. What did your mind's eye come up with? I'm imagining your mathematician looked a lot like the men in the picture on the left. White, male, middle-aged, a little eccentric, maybe even with some wacky hair. When looking for mathematical role models to relate to, students who are not white, male, or eccentric often find themselves motivated despite not feeling represented, or simply declare themselves not a math person. Now, I ask you to think back to when you developed your identity in mathematics. Did you decide you were good at mathematics early on because you had a natural talent and an interest in it? Or did you have a role model who showed you that you could be skilled at mathematics? Or were you like me? And when you were told that you shouldn't be interested in mathematics because it's not a girl's field, you thought, I'll show you, only to go on and study engineering while constantly second guessing your place in all of your classes. When most media representations of math people are bumbling, nerdy white men or frumpy, bossy white women, like the cast of The Big Bang Theory, or high school math teachers are 76% white and 46% male, it's easy to see why, by the age of 12, most girls have decided that mathematics is not a field for them. If you then take into account that women make up 25% of people in mathematical careers, then we can see why the messages we send to students in the second picture need to change. We cannot continue to say that anyone can be a math person, but only show a small demographic of people who've succeeded in math. I plan to identify what messages math educators send to their students that either encourage or discourage them to pursue mathematics, as well as how math educators can better communicate to students who are developing their mathematics identity, that successful mathematicians look like all of us. Through my research, I plan to counter the culture of male, Euro-centered math education that's now become a stereotype. Despite what our media shows us, mathematicians come from different backgrounds, ethnicities, genders, and sexual orientations. Mathematics isn't only for the privileged or the male descendants of European ancestors. Math teachers need to combat the negative stereotype of mathematicians in the media and give students supportive and positive mathematics role models. Students shouldn't have to rely on the motivation of being told you can't do something, like I did. If we leave it up to our students to figure out that they can do mathematics despite being told otherwise, we'll continue to only see mathematicians that look like the men in the first picture. Thank you.
Super job, Megan. And things may be bigger in Texas, but it didn't stop Washington from stealing back one great math teacher in you. Speak of mathematics and science education. Our next competitor, James Asare, is a doctoral student in that same program. James hails from Ghana and has a background in pure, applied, and computational mathematics, which fuels his interest in the experiences of math education in the classroom. James, the floor is yours. You have 3 minutes.
Look at the images on the slide. What does an old newspaper with a monster shape have to do with a district map or a school child? Everything. But first, let's not get ahead of ourselves. This old newspaper is from the year 1812, and the monster you see is a mythical salamander with wings that make it look like a dragon. Children dread monsters, and of course, nobody likes monsters. But this monstrous boogeyman you see was named after a US politician called Albagshi, a governor of Massachusetts who signed a bill that created a district in Boston with this exact same shape that resulted in him winning the election. Gerrymandering is the practice where politicians purposefully change election district boundaries to favor their party or socioeconomic class while damaging the chances of their opponents seeking political representation. Why does this matter? Every 10 years in the US, a new census is conducted to account for population changes in districts, and district boundaries are redrawn all over again. Interestingly, small shifts in the size of the majority can add up to incredibly significant outcomes in terms of reducing the influence of Black voters, transparency in governance, policies, and many more. Because public school districts lie within the boundaries of a county or district, redrawing these boundaries affect the assignment of children to public schools. The problem of assigning children to schools is an overly complicated one, and advocates have suggested the use of computer algorithms for this because they claim they are non-partisan. Surprisingly enough, there is no mathematical or experimental evidence that supports their claim. Policymakers, nonetheless, have been relying on the direct application of these computer algorithms to justify the school assignment areas for students. This is where my research comes in. My research looks at the effect of direct applications of gerrymandering algorithms on perpetuating segregation. Using 3 different metrics, some well-known gerrymandering algorithms were analyzed. My findings are novel, and my research aims to curb inequities in the assignment of minoritized children to public schools. My work will ensure that the boogeyman or monster of gerrymandering does not become an antagonist in access to educational opportunities for minorities, but become a protagonist for diversity. And that little boy in the corner over there enjoys an equal opportunity to a well-resourced school. The picture of the brightly colored district map you see was generated from my research. And together, it's going to help ensure that the boogeyman does not become an antagonist. Thank you.
James, that was wonderful, though I will point out that I'm still a lot more scared of spiders than I am of salamanders. Our last competitor of this competition is Amira Albagshi. Amira is a Ph.D. candidate in special education. Her research focuses on promoting social justice and equality by emphasizing disability education curriculum in K-12 classrooms. The purpose of this research is to understand the process of increasing awareness of disabilities as well as acceptance among general education students. She holds a master's degree in special education from the University of Northern Iowa and multiple degrees from Saudi Arabia. Amira, break a leg. The floor is yours. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Amira Albagshi, and I'm sharing my research with you today. I have conducted a mixed method research to study students' attitude toward people with disabilities. And the purpose of my study was an attempt to help the inclusion that face some challenges with students' negative attitude in classrooms. So that's where my study came from, to help and support the inclusion. I conducted the study with 42 participants in grades 3 to 8 in one of the private schools here in the US. I used the mixed method design to have qualitative and quantitative data based on the focus group and survey that called CATCH. I analyzed the data and I have the result, and it was interesting to see the difference between the 2 data sets. For example, for the quantitative data, there was a little bit of increase in the students' positive attitude toward people with disabilities. So it wasn't that big of a difference, but there was like a partial increase. So then we came to the qualitative data to see what's going on. And it was really interesting to see how students think and understand about people with disabilities. And you will see here in the note, I have 2 direct quotes from the participants. One of them said, well, I thought they were sad and they're left out and they don't have any friends, but they actually have friends. And the other one said, well, they are just like people like us. They may look different, they may act different, but they are just like us. So this came after they watched the videos, the person-centered video, which presented people with disabilities. And I have here some pictures from those videos about people with disabilities acting and living their daily life with the challenges. So participants found that, they can do a lot of stuff that we typically people cannot do. For example, you can see this boy in the picture. He can write his name. He can do his homework with his feet. And my participants tried to do that. They couldn't do it. And it was really interesting to see like the wow and like on their eyes and how they expressed that and how they felt that we didn't know that. And that's really come to the conclusion that our students don't know what people with disabilities can or cannot do. They just assume that they can't do because they are either sitting in a wheelchair or they need help with doing stuff. But they actually need to learn that they are able and capable of doing stuff. And that's a really great finding of my study. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amira. That was wonderful. Thank you to all of our competitors for sharing their research. While the judges compile their scores, we want to share a few videos with you. The first is a video by Melissa Piercy, a doctoral student in the Mathematics and Science Education program. Melissa recently won honorable mention at the Science Coalition's Fund It Forward Video Challenge. Here's Melissa's video.
Why Science Matters. I'm Melissa Piercy, and I'm a graduate student here at Washington State University. Go Cougs! Almost 4 million future scientists are born in the United States each year. It's time to demystify science. My research interests include how elementary students see scientists, what they think scientists do, and most importantly, what influences a student to see themselves as a scientist. Chambers' work assess students' perceptions of a scientist by having them draw a scientist. You guessed it, Caucasian male in a lab coat. But fast forward to today, more students are drawing females as scientists. This shows progress. However, with more science funding made available, we can make sure every student views science as a future possibility. Every student can have the opportunity to pursue their passion in science and share their intellect with others. And every student can use their own experiences with the help of sciences to be able to help their community. As the amount of potential U.S. citizens continues to grow, funding science will help our whole population see themselves as scientists, not just impacting Americans, but allowing American scientists to impact the world. And this is why science matters.
That was great, Melissa. One initiative that some college faculty are involved in is setting the record straight about mathematics education and opening a pipeline of great math teachers. A national initiative called Get the Facts Out is underway, and we are on board. We touched base with alumna Mimi Dismore, who teaches at Lincoln Middle School in Pullman, Washington. She helped us to get the facts out.
Hi, my name is Mimi Dismore, and I have the best job ever, which is teaching 6th grade math here at Lincoln Middle School in Pullman, Washington. More than ever, it's really hard to tell what's true and what's not true. So today, we're gonna separate fact from fiction, just like we do every day in my classroom, and get the facts out. Have you ever heard that people who teach math have always been good at it? That's fiction. Here's the facts. When I was a student, I always thought I was bad at math for almost my entire K-12 career. It turns out that I wasn't actually bad at math, I just needed to learn it a different way. And actually, that's a huge strength when you're becoming a math teacher because it helps you teach a greater range of students. Here's another fact. Working as a teacher is one of the most rewarding things that you can do. Not only do you get to make a difference, but also you can make a livable wage doing it. By the way, teaching has wicked retirement, rad benefits, and you can teach anywhere in the US. But I wouldn't leave Washington. Teaching is a great career choice because you can make a real difference in the lives of kids and have a ton of fun doing it. For more information on the best career ever, visit getthefactsout.org.
I don't know about you, but that video kind of made me want to be a math teacher. So we actually do need just a minute more for the judges. So while this competition is graduate-based, we're going to show you a video about an undergraduate, a kinesiology student, Oliver Warner, a diehard rugby fan, about why he chose kinesiology, what his favorite part of the program is, and how it impacts his future.
I chose the kinesiology program because exercise has been a big part of my life ever since I really started getting into sports, especially in high school. And I knew I really wanted to learn about the body more when it's in exercise instead of just kind of learning the basic anatomy. I also wanted to put the different aspects of it while it's in movement, just because that has been a great part of my life and it has changed my life ever since I started school here and back in high school. So my favorite part of the kinesiology program has been just the faculty and the students that I'm with every day. We kind of build kind of a big community with each other. If I was able to take all my knowledge from kinesiology, I'd be able to carry it over in sports, how to move and how to recover from any certain injuries, as well as how to increase my performance and improve it in the gym and on the field.
That was awesome. And now the time has come to announce the 2022 winners for the College of Education. A reminder that the winner gets $1,000 and represents the college in the WSU 3MT event in a week and a half. Second place gets $750 and third gets $500. Thank you to all who participated. It takes a lot of courage to do this. Third place this year is McLean from the Mathematics and Science Education program. Second place, Amira Albagshi from Special Education. And the winner of this year's 2022 College of Education 3-minute thesis is James Asare from the Mathematics and Science Education program.
Whoa.
Congratulations.
Wow.
James, this is usually a close race, and this year it certainly wasn't any different, at least not from second to fifth place. But this year, the difference between first and the rest was the largest we've ever had. You won by a convincing margin, my friend.
Thank you.
Yep. And with that, thank you very much to all. A reminder that any and all information about this program, 3MT, or the WSU one, can be found on 3mt.wsu.edu. Have a great afternoon, everybody.